All right, let's dive in head first into another deep dive. And folks, tonight we're heading straight into the heart of a case that still manages to send chills down your spine, even just hearing about it.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about the Hopkinsville goblins, right?
The one and only. We're talking eyewitness accounts, we got police reports, and oh boy, do we have theories. A whole whirlwind of them around this one. What we're going to try to do tonight is piece together what exactly went down on that night in 1955.
Examine the explanations, right?
You got it. And explore why this case, still to this day, captures our imagination.
I mean, it's a good one.
It really is. So just picture yourself, it's rural Kentucky, a sweltering summer night.
Okay, I'm there. I can feel the humidity already.
Right. And you know what makes this case so much creepier?
What's that?
It wasn't just a quick glance, or a fleeting shadow.
Oh, you're saying like a full-on encounter.
Exactly. We're talking hours, man. Hours. Multiple witnesses saying they saw these things.
Creatures.
Creatures, yeah, whatever they were. And it all went down at a place called, you ready for this? The Sutton farmhouse. A Saturday night, 11 people gathered. Just another normal summer evening.
Until it wasn't.
Until it absolutely was not. So we got this guy, Billy Ray Taylor. He steps out, just going to the well to fetch some water, and bam, he comes rushing back in, talking about this strange light streaking across the sky.
And that detail, that's crucial. Like, you kick things off with a UFO sighting, you're planting a seed right there. You're saying this isn't your typical bump in the night story.
Oh, absolutely. It's like, boom, instant mystery. An element of the unknown just gets injected right into the scene. It's almost like a warning, like the light's telling you, hey, things are about to get seriously weird.
Like a bad omen, almost.
Totally. And from there, man, things just escalate and fast. The family starts hearing these strange noises outside. Rustling, scratching. You know those sounds that just make your skin crawl?
Oh, yeah, those noises that make you think twice about checking what's out there.
And then they see them. Small, otherworldly figures coming towards the house. I mean, how would you react?
I don't even know. I mean, I like to think I'm brave, but...
I'd be out of there. But the witnesses, they described them. About 3.5 feet tall. Long, spindly arms, glowing eyes.
Glowing eyes, like actually glowing.
That's what they said. And pointed ears. It's like something straight out of a fairy tale.
Except, I'm guessing not for friendly.
No, not friendly at all. They even said these things. They seem to glide rather than walk.
No, that's just creepy. And what strikes me is how vivid those descriptions are. Even after all these years, those details, they've stuck.
It's true. Almost whimsical, but unsettling, wouldn't you say?
Totally. And the fact that you have multiple witnesses, adults and children, and they all remembered these specific details, that consistency, that's hard to just brush off as pure imagination, right?
You can't just say, oh, they all made it up, especially when their stories line up like that.
Right. So they see these creatures, they hear the noises, and naturally their fight or flight kicks in.
Oh, yeah. What do? They grab their guns, right? Rifles, shotguns. I mean, wouldn't you?
Oh, and a heartbeat. So they start firing at these things, and that's where it gets even weirder, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah. Here comes the twist. Buckle up.
The witnesses, they're adamant. They said the bullets, they had no effect on the creatures. They're talking about bullets bouncing off or just passing straight through them, like they weren't even solid.
Like they were ghosts or something.
I know. Imagine that. You're already terrified, and then the thing you're using to defend yourself doesn't even work.
That's like next level fear right there. Like you said, it's one thing to be facing the unknown, but then to realize it's not even fazed by your weapons. I mean, talk about chills going down your spine. And here's the thing. This wasn't just some quick peekaboo situation.
You're saying they were there for a while?
Oh, yeah. They were reportedly lurking around the house, peering through windows.
No way. How long are we talking?
For hours.
Hours? You kidding?
I'm dead serious. Hours of these creatures just messing with them. Some people even think it was like some sort of a psychological test. This prolonged exposure to the utterly bizarre, like they were being studied or something.
Maybe. It definitely makes you think.
And after hours of this torment, it's no surprise they finally bolted.
I can only imagine.
Straight to the police station, no less. Can you picture it? This family bursting through the doors, panicked, breathless, trying to explain this crazy story about glowing-eyed creatures that bullets can't stop. What a scene.
I bet the officers are thinking, okay, sure.
Right. Like, have you folks been into the moonshine tonight? But even the police, they sensed something was off.
So the police investigation, that adds the whole other dimension to this, doesn't it? They didn't find any physical evidence, not a trace of the creatures. Of course, that just fuels the skepticism, the people who say, see, it was all made up.
Right. But hold on a second. The officers who were there at the farm, they reported strange lights and sounds. Some of them even described this eerie quiet that fell over the place after the family left, like something had stuck around.
Like some kind of residue, some lingering energy or something. Spooky.
Super spooky. So we got this terrifying encounter, multiple witnesses, even the police getting these weird vibes. It's like something out of a horror movie, you know? But now we got to try to figure out what it all means.
Time to put on our detective hats.
Exactly. Because the big question is, what were these things?
That is the million-dollar question. Were they aliens? Were they something else entirely? I guess that's what we're here to find out. That's when the real head-scratching starts, right? It's like, okay, we've got this freaky event, but what does it all mean? What were these creatures?
Yeah, and that's where the theories come in. Each one trying to offer an explanation, trying to fit this weird puzzle piece into some kind of logical picture.
Exactly, and let's be honest, when we talk about anything strange and unexplained, there's one explanation that always seems to jump to the front of the line.
Oh, you mean aliens?
Bingo, extraterrestrials. Could these creatures have been visitors from another planet? Maybe even the pilots of that UFO that Billy Ray Taylor saw.
Oh, yeah, that mysterious light. It's tempting to connect the dots, right? Like these beings are just scouting it out, doing a little recon mission under the cover of darkness. It's a classic sci-fi trope.
And a compelling one, for sure. But we got to be careful, right? We can't just leap to conclusions based on speculation. We need evidence, something concrete to back up that theory.
Facts over fantasy, as they say. So let's shift gears a little bit and look at a more down-to-earth explanation. Some folks have suggested that what the Sutton family actually saw that night were owls.
Owls, like those wise old birds.
Specifically great horned owls. I know it sounds a little out there, but hear me out.
Okay, I'm listening.
Great horned owls, they're nocturnal predators, right? And in the dark, they can look pretty imposing, especially when they spread those big wings.
True, but we're talking about creatures with glowing eyes and strange movements. Do owls really fit that description?
Well, their eyes do reflect light amazingly well. Could that explain the glowing eyes the witnesses described? Maybe. And as for the movements, owls can move pretty silently and swiftly. Could that have been misinterpreted as gliding? It's possible, I guess.
I can see where you're going with this, but there's still the issue of the bullets, right? The witnesses were adamant that the bullets had no effect on these creatures. Can owls just shrug off gunfire like that?
That's the biggest hurdle for the owl theory, no doubt. But we also have to consider the circumstances. It was dark, chaotic, everyone was terrified. Could they have missed seeing the owls react to being hit?
Adrenaline can do funny things to your perception, and in the heat of the moment, details can get distorted.
It's true. It's easy to imagine how fear could amplify everything, make the ordinary seem extraordinary. But even if we put the owl theory aside for a moment, there's another explanation that some people find intriguing, and that's the idea of a shared hallucination.
Hallucination, like they all just imagined it.
It's a possibility, right? We know that stress, fear, lack of sleep, they can all mess with your mind. They can lead to distorted perceptions, even full-blown hallucinations.
I mean, it happened before, but 11 people all seeing the same thing with that level of detail and consistency.
Yeah, that's the catch. Shared hallucinations, especially those with such intricate details, they're extremely rare. It'd be one heck of a coincidence if all 11 people just happened to have the same vivid vision.
It would almost be statistically impossible, right?
Almost. But we're dealing with the unexplained here, so who knows? And then there's always the skeptic's favorite explanation, a hoax.
You think the Sutton family just made it all up? Some elaborate prank gone wrong?
It's been suggested, yeah. But when you look at the details, it doesn't really add up. The Suttons, they weren't attention seekers. They didn't try to profit from their story. In fact, they seemed pretty reluctant to talk about it in the years that followed.
Like they were genuinely traumatized by whatever they experienced. If it was a hoax, what was the point? What did they stand to gain?
Exactly. Which brings us back to square one. We've got a bunch of theories, each with its strengths and weaknesses, but none of them completely solves the puzzle. It's almost like the more we try to explain it, the more mysterious it becomes.
It's like a hall of mirrors. Every time you think you've got a clear reflection, it distorts, shifts, leaves you questioning what you're actually seeing.
Maybe that's part of what makes the Hopkinsville goblin so fascinating. The mystery itself. The fact that it defies easy explanation.
The unknown, it can be both terrifying and alluring, can't it? It reminds us that there are still things out there that we don't understand, that our neat and tidy worldviews can't always account for.
And maybe that's a good thing, a little reminder that we don't have all the answers, that there's still room for wonder, for mystery, for the possibility of something truly strange and wonderful existing just beyond our comprehension.
Absolutely. The Hopkinsville goblins, they're a reminder that the world is a much stranger and more complex place than we often give it credit for. And that's something to celebrate, even if it does make the hairs on the back of our necks stand up a little. And, it's not just about the mystery itself. It's about the impact it has, how it seeps into our culture and shapes the way we think about the unknown.
You're talking about how the Hopkinsville goblins have become like this pop culture icon, right?
Exactly. Think about it. These creatures had their one night of fame in rural Kentucky, and boom, they become the stuff of legend. I mean, they've inspired countless stories, movies, TV shows, you name it. They've even popped up in video games.
It's pretty wild when you think about it. It's like they tapped into some primal fear we all have. That fear of the unknown, of what lurks in the shadows.
And the images we have of them, those glowing eyes, the weird way they moved, it's almost become the template for how we picture aliens in general.
Like the little green men trope.
Exactly. Those classic images, they might owe a debt to the descriptions from Hopkinsville. It's pretty fascinating.
And the themes too, right? This encounter with something beyond comprehension, the fear, the uncertainty. Those themes, they resonate throughout human history, throughout our stories and myths.
It's like the Hopkinsville goblins. They've become a modern myth themselves.
It's amazing how much cultural influence they have, considering they only showed up for that one night in 1955. And speaking of cultural impact, we got to talk about the Little Green Men Days festival in Hopkinsville.
Wait, they have a whole festival dedicated to the goblins?
Oh yeah, they fully embraced it. It's like they took this terrifying encounter and turned it into a celebration of the weird and wonderful.
That's actually pretty cool. It shows a certain resilience, wouldn't you say? A willingness to laugh at the unknown, to turn fear into something positive.
It's a good reminder that sometimes it's okay to just embrace the mystery. Not everything needs a perfectly logical explanation. Sometimes the questions that linger, the ones that keep us guessing, those are the most intriguing ones.
You know, you're right. It's like staring into the abyss, and the abyss stares back. But instead of being terrified, we can choose to be fascinated.
So let's wrap up our deep dive of Hopkinsville goblins. We've traveled back to that sweltering summer night, heard the eyewitness accounts, explored the theories, and examined the cultural impact.
We've looked at the possibility of aliens, considered the owl theory, and even entertained the idea of a mass hallucination. But in the end, the mystery endures. And that's okay.
Because ultimately, the Hopkinsville goblins remind us that the world is still full of unexplained phenomena. They encourage us to keep an open mind and to keep exploring, to always question what we think we know, and to embrace the possibility that there's much more out there than we can even imagine.
And to approach the unknown with curiosity, not fear. To see the mystery as a source of wonder and inspiration.
So listeners, as we conclude our deep dive into the Hopkinsville goblins, we leave you with this. What do you think happened that night? Were they aliens, owls, something else entirely? We may never know for sure. And maybe that's the beauty of it. The mystery keeps us guessing, keeps us exploring, keeps us looking up at the stars with a sense of wonder and, yeah, maybe a little healthy fear. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep embracing the unexplained. Yeah, I don't think so, Safe. That's a possible thing we're going to be feeling.